You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know, they've got Ohio, but then I believe week 2 is Georgia Tech, which is kind of a
Stanford.
team.
Stanford, is not good, but they are ACC. So
yeah.
You can't you can never take your foot off the gas.
No.
But you can't in Division I. You can't do it. But at the same time, I mean, when they're playing UConn.
Okay, so fair.
And Holy Cross, come on.
That UNLV game is going to be – that will not – I mean –
that one would be tough, yeah.
But they were pretty good last year. They got a bunch of votes in the coaches poll. I mean, obviously preseason polls don't mean much, but they were pretty good. And, and it's out west. So, I mean – I feel like when I did my projection a while back, I projected Syracuse to win, but that's, I don't want to call it a trap game, but that's not a cakewalk. That'll be a tough game.
But that's their one non-conference game that I can see them losing.
So the other three, Holy Cross, Ohio, and UConn.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to absolutely stunned if they lost any of those. Not to be
the one that's most likely, if you were to pick out of those three, is Ohio. They're only 16-point favorites-ish on there. The other one's listen, if we're losing to UConn and we're losing to Holy Cross, we got a lot bigger fish to fry.
Call me crazy or Homer or whatever. I think Syracuse on August 31st is going to come out of the gates and absolutely just blow out Ohio. I think they're going to be.
I actually agree with you.
Not because Ohio is a terrible team. I just think that the anticipation. I think they're just, especially with if the crowds just gets into it, they get a quick touchdown, whatever. They're just gonna, all cylinders will be firing. I could be wrong. We'll see. But
no, I agree with you on that. It's going to be similar to what it was with 2022. I remember they opened the season against Louisville. And it was Malik Cunningham at quarterback, and that was seen as going to be a tough game. Syracuse might have been an underdog in that game. They spanked them.
They spanked them.
Spanked them.
Was it 31-7?
31-7. It didn't feel like 31-7. It felt a lot worse than that. It killed them.
Yeah,
it killed them.
Yeah.
And I agree. I agree with you. I think it's going to be something similar with Ohio, except I think it's going to be worse because Ohio's not as good as that Louisville team was. So I think it's going to be worse. And I don't want to compare it to last year against who they opened. Was it Colgate they opened the season against? Ohio's definitely a step above Colgate. So.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to compare it to that because even when they blew out Colgate, I don't know. I mean, I know from my perspective, when they blew out Colgate, I didn't care too much because I was like, it's Colgate. It's like if they were to blow out Holy Cross this year, it's cool. Next.
I mean, the way I look at those non-conference games against not super great teams is, are they playing crisp? Are they playing disciplined? Yeah, so fine, the final score, whatever. But are they, is Kyle McCord completing his passes? Are they not committing turnovers? Are they not committing penalties? Just playing disciplined ball.
Yeah.
If they're expected to blow, you just want to be focused and just, on point and then just move on. But the ACC, obviously Syracuse doesn't play some of the top tier preseason teams, but it will be interesting to see the way the conference, pans out. Obviously, Florida State and Clemson, a lot of people think will be at the top, but then you got Miami, Louisville, NC State. Then you got Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech, and SMU could surprise some folks. And, Boston College got a first place vote in the ACC preseason media poll. Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't me. I didn't vote. But it will be interesting to see how kind of the middle of it kind of all, shapes out. I personally think Syracuse could go on a run and be in the top 4 or 5. I do. I don't think they're going to be 12.
It's possible. Yeah. The question is what the conference record would be, because if they were to go 8-4, let's say that they go 8-4 and they go 4-0 in their non-con, that means they went 4-4 in the conference. So where would 4-4 in the conference slot them? I think it's tough to project standings in that regard because it's we say they go 8-4, but they beat UNLV. That's the one swing game in the non-con. If they beat UNLV, they're 4-0 in the non-con, so that means they went 4-4 in the conference. Where is 4-4 in the conference on the standings? It could be 8th, 9th, 10th, but at the same time, I mean, if they're all jumbled together, then really what is the difference?
Not much. And their strength of schedule might not be as high as some of the other teams in the conference, just based on the fact that they don't play, some of those quote unquote top teams. So I would hope that they go at least 5-3 in the conference. That would be my hope.
I would hope so too. If they go 5-3 in the conference, unless they lose to UNLV, that means their record would be 9-3. See,
I called it.
We'd take it, right? That's the thing. They might lose to UNLV on the road, so then it's 8-4.
This is all obviously speculation, and we'll have to see how they play the first few games and what UNLV does its first few games. But that is not going to be an easy game.
No,
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
No. Georgia Tech, though, in my opinion, is going to be that's the test.
That's
you're going to beat Ohio, and in our opinion, you're probably going to blow them out. Georgia Tech at home, I think they're going to win that game, but they could lose.
It won't be an easy game. It won't.
No, it won't.
Georgia Tech, is getting some preseason buzz. Is it not necessarily a team that's going to win the ACC, but a team that could be kind of up on the up and up. So
But I will say this: if they were to blow out Georgia Tech,
that would be
it's going to completely change the outlook of this team. We're gonna look at it and be like, 8-4, 9. I would probably then need to amend my prediction and say, 9-3 at minimum at that point. If they blow out Georgia Tech, now if they win that game by 10 points or whatever, and it's kind of close back and forth, I would say that I probably was. That we were probably on point, with their projection. You do well against Georgia, you win against Georgia Tech at home, close game. What would happen if it was on the road? Maybe it goes the other direction. But a close game at home, you win. So then we'll be probably pretty accurate on it. I think that's where is that where you're at? You think it's going to be a win, but it might be close? I think they're going to win, but I think it could be relatively close. And that brings up the larger point that Syracuse is, I can't remember if it was CBS Sport, one of the national media outlets had an article earlier this year, and I think I piggybacked off it with a piece on Loud House talking about teams that are the biggest mysteries coming into the season, and Syracuse is on there. And that's not necessarily a criticism. It's a first-time head coach, relatively, made over staff, and a significantly overhauled roster, recency bias with a team that's made 2 bowls but hasn't been super great in recent years, and a favorable schedule on paper, but we don't know how all this is going to shake out. So I agree. If they go into week 2 against a Georgia Tech team that looks like it could be pretty solid in the ACC, and they absolutely whoop them, even at home, that I don't want to say silence the critics, but that's all right, this team can do it. This team can play. Let's go. We'll see. I don't want to rush through summer, but I just want to see some freaking games. No, I'm ready to rush through summer. I'm ready. We're 24 days away. I don't want to be 24. 24 days away is still over 3 weeks.